All right, welcome back. NASDAQ heading for another record close. And you know what? The Dow's not that far away either. We're going to keep our eye on that between now and the final bell of the week. Plexo Capital founder, managing partner Toney joins us now. See if this record-setting run can continue. And next week's going to have a lot to say about that, isn't it?
That's right. We've got some big names announcing next week, and maybe we've seen a little glimpse of what we can anticipate based on what we saw this week.
Is that how you feel? Did you think you got enough from Alphabet to tell you that next week's going to be pretty good?
I think so. Look, what we know is that the enterprise demand for AI remains red hot. And I look to the earnings announcement from Alphabet and Google as a sign of that, right? So the big news, I think for me, the headline was the increase in CapEx for this year going up to $85 billion, which is about a 62% increase year over year from 2024. In fact, Alphabet even increased the amount that they're spending this year. So about 2/3 of that is for compute and servers, so think chips. And then about 1/3 of that is going to be for the data center build outs and network upgrades. So why are they doing that? Well, again, enterprise demand is red hot, and they have a backlog for Google Cloud that apparently is up to $91 billion as of the end of Q1. So that's a 44% year over year increase. So I think at a minimum, we should see that same type of demand and backlog from the other hyperscalers like Amazon and Microsoft. I'm looking further out, demand for chips from folks like NVIDIA.
Yeah, we know the numbers are going to continue to go up. Does return on that money today even matter? I said this the other day, Lo, that we ask the question, people like me, obviously, and others, almost like we feel compelled you have to. You're spending that much money. In any other business, we'd say, gosh, you're spending all this money. What's the return on it? It's so hard to quantify now what the return is going to look like and whether it's even relevant, whether it comes in the next year or so. How do you think about it?
Well, Scott, I think your last point is the key point, because what that reflects is often when we see these massive platform changes, we tend to underestimate on the front end what the potential demand is going to be and the ultimate size of these markets. So I think from a financial analysis perspective, the analysts are looking for these investments to be the indicator that there's more demand, which will be reflected in top line growth. But I think ultimately there's a little bit more patience for how that's going to translate into margins once we start to see some of these higher margin businesses begin to really be the drivers, which they're already growing and trending in that direction.
Is there one, I want to take Apple out of the mix for a moment because it's different.
Right.
It's different in the way that they spend. It's different in the way that we think about what AI is ultimately going to mean for them. Is there one of the Microsoft or Metas or Amazons that are coming next week that gives you any level of pause at all?
I don't think necessarily a level of pause. However, what I will say, when you look at the CapEx spend of Google Alphabet that was announced, I would look for similar increases potentially, number one, across both Amazon and Microsoft. And then I would also look to see if there's any guidance on what the backlog looks like that's driving that increase in CapEx spend. Now, Meta is a little bit of the outlier. Like when we think about CapEx spend, Amazon's projected to do about $100 billion this year. Microsoft is just about in line with Google at about, call it 80, 85 billion. Meta is spending probably about 70 billion this year. But what's interesting is when you think about Amazon, Microsoft, and Google or Alphabet, those CapEx expenditures are primarily to support their hyperscaling business, the cloud business. Meta is making that investment so they can offer a better user experience. So that's the one that I might watch, because if I were an analyst, to your point, again, when I think about the CapEx expenditures for Amazon, Microsoft, and Alphabet, okay, those are in line with the customer demand. Meta's a little bit different. So I would look for a little more guidance and understanding around how those investments are going to translate into dollars.